intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or streaming of the accounts and descriptions of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of LSU SP, Playfly Sports, or the university is strictly prohibited. A division of Playfly Sports.
Get a free roof inspection by Garcia Roofing. GarciaDidMyRoof.com.
WTGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on the air.
Presented by Super Chevy, your local Super Chevy dealers.
It's time to talk LSU football on the flagship home of the Tigers. Call 225-499-9898. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Now, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Charles Hannegriff and Richard Dixon.
A disturbing and at times disgusting performance by a very poorly coached football team, and LSU loses 27-16 in Gainesville. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Charles Hannegriff, along with former Tiger Richard Dixon. For the first time in the Brian Kelly era, LSU has lost 3 straight football games, this one by 11 points against a Florida Gators team that prior to today had a losing record overall and retains, even after this game, a losing record in conference. The day started off with a pretty good harbinger for the events that would follow it. When you start in a situation like LSU is today, with back-to-back, at least 1.5, really embarrassing performances, you would think that the team would be focused in, that pride, if nothing else, would take over, that there would be some accountability within the ranks of the upperclassmen. But when your day starts out trying to break a 2-game snap, when you start your day with fleeting hopes of significant postseason play, when you start your day on the road in the Southeastern Conference having to suspend 2 upperclassmen for, what are we calling this, conduct that was detrimental to the team, that's a pretty good idea of where your head's at. That's a pretty good idea where your locker room is at. If you're a team that's playing with a sense of urgency, if you're a team that's playing with a sense of pride, your upperclassmen are leading. They're not getting suspended. And if you have to suspend them, and you have to suspend them for 1 quarter, I'm sorry, maybe I'm making too big a deal out of this, but that was the first thing that happened today. It's the first thing I'm going to lead with. When you got to suspend 2 upperclassmen, 2 starters, 2 leaders, one of whom has been one of your best players this year, that tells me where the locker room's at. Before you even kick the football, that tells me where the locker room's at. It also tells me that the coach can't suspend you for the whole game because he ain't got enough guys to suspend you. If whatever you did was worthy of a suspension, it was probably worthy of a suspension more than 1 quarter. I don't know what they did. I don't care. All right? That's accountability. And when the good teams take care of the little things, you just naturally take care of the big things. When you don't take care of the big things, guess what? The whole thing goes to hell. So the day started off bad with those 2 suspensions of Swinson and Ryan. Then you get to the first drive of the game, and you see some more of just some of the things that have plagued LSU all year. You get to 4th and 1. So you come up to the line, you decide you're going to go for it, you come up to the line of scrimmage, and you don't like what you see. Why? You went under center, and you know you're looking at it. I'm looking at it. It was a long yard. Thinking, there's no way in hell they're going to make this yard.
No.
Even with the quarterbacks, ain't no way in hell they're going to make this. And if they hand the ball off, they're going to get stopped for a loss. Brian Kelly probably saw that too. He called timeout, so you got to burn one. You're not 3 minutes deep into the game at that point. You got to burn one. You come out of it, and I know they knew that they couldn't make a yard because they come out in a different formation. They come out in the gun, and they run a fly sweep, jet sweep, end around, whatever you want to call it, hand the ball to the guy coming through. They lose 3 yards. So
let's talk about that play.
I'm going to talk about that play, but I want to set the stage for you. You are 3 minutes into the game, and I know LSU's in trouble. You've had to suspend 2 guys for something insignificant, maybe, but it speaks to where your team's head at. Then you know you're not tough enough to get 1 yard on the road. Then you got to burn a timeout, so you got you got game management problems, and then you run a play that I'm sorry, you got Trey Green, who's a wide receiver, really on the outside, trying to set the edge, make the block. That's who you pick.
You want to jump his ass, the guy that you just moved from tight end to receiver, guy that's never played tight end in his life. Yeah. He's ran fade routes his whole career.
Yeah.
And then you're going to run a play at him and then get pissed off at him.
Yeah.
When he doesn't block.
God bless. You're asking him to do that? Yeah. I mean, why don't you throw the ball to him in the end zone where you can't score, okay? Yeah. He'd probably do that. He's 6'7". So right off the bat, you know that you're in trouble. Your focus isn't there as a team. You're not tough enough to get a yard. You're not organized enough to adjust at the line of scrimmage, and then you call a terrible play behind a guy who's, a terrific athlete, a terrific prospect, a guy with an unlimited future, but that ain't his thing.
Why don't you put Mason Taylor right there? Why don't you put Pimpton right there? Why don't you do something outside of, putting a wide receiver? And, the thing to me is, and I've talked about it, he's been decent at blocking on the edge, but that's a different style. They motioned him in almost like a tight end. He was back to playing a tight end off the wing, and he just got his butt whipped. And that's not where he should be doing. That's not where he should be putting him in the game at that point. And then you want to jump his ass when, no, you should jump the play calling ass. You're in the scripted plays at this point. Your best 20, your best 15, what you've worked on for a week. This is where you had 7 days to put your best 10 plays. The plays were coming out the gate with, and that's what you got.
Well, last week they had 14 days to put the script together, and that didn't seem to help very much either. So you come out of that, you got problems in the secondary. You've had problems at safety all year. I give DJ Lagway a lot of credit. That guy was playing on one leg. He could not run at all. He could move just enough to buy himself some time, but he hung in there. He made some throws. You could tell he was hurting. Yeah. All right. I mean, it doesn't take a doctor to look at him and go.
Maybe I know what the suspensions were for. Because Swenson's getting back there. Maybe him and Sage got in a fight, because I saw another play where Gilbert missed another tackle, and it looked like he was about to fight Gilbert on the play. No. I mean, maybe now I'm joking.
I know, but it's funny, except it's not funny. So Lagway hits him for a 35-yard touchdown, and so then you're behind. Your offensive line is getting dominated again. It seems like every drive started with a run, started at 2nd and 10 or worse. Nussmeier took a hell of a beating today. So did the backs. They tried some different combinations. Tyree Adams was back, his first game back in about a month, maybe a little bit better than a month. That didn't work. So there were so many whiff blocks, Rich. When we go back and look at the tape and do that on Monday, I mean, they're not just getting beat, they're missing completely.
They're not. I'm talking about
missing completely.
When at that point in the game, and I don't know, did Frazier get hurt on the first drive?
It's first or the second. It was early.
When he went out and I looked up, I'm like, okay, we've talked about this offensive line for a long time. Look, they've been terrible in the run game all year long. But it was the first time I was like, okay, well, this is a problem. You got a redshirt freshman at left guard, a redshirt freshman at center, and a redshirt freshman at right guard. Tyree Adams has been the guy that's supposed to be the next one up, and I got to go back and watch it. And I'm not trying to talk bad about him. Mbenga is – if that's our next guy up, we're in a lot of problems. We have a lot of problems next year, because he was nowhere close. He gets thrown around. He can't figure out how to stay on a block. So at one point when Frazier comes back in, and if you notice, all of our run plays to that point, we started running to the right. We were good up there. We got to try – put Tyree Adams on the left side. You got to see something at one point. I don't think that Mbenga blocked a soul all night long.
Here's the thing. At left tackle, you have Will Campbell, who started the season as a high first-round pick, is now probably a lower first-round pick. You started the season with Garrett Dellinger at left guard, who's now injured. You started the season with DJ Chester at center, who was starting for the first time as a redshirt freshman. You started the season with Frazier at Miles Frazier at right guard, who's played, probably got 30-some-odd starts. And you started with Emory Jones at right tackle, who started the season as a first-round pick, and I don't think at this point is. And the top two backups were Tyree Adams and Paul Mbenga. Okay, what do all five of those starters and both of those key reserves have in common?
They give up sacks.
They've all gotten worse.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. They've all gotten worse. They've all gotten worse from the beginning to the end. When one guy gets worse, you say, okay, maybe there was a physical problem, maybe there's a mental problem, maybe there's a scheme problem. When two guys get worse, you go, well, maybe we could look what we do. When they all get worse, you look at the coach. Simple as that. When they all get worse, you look at the coach. So this is on Brad Davis. If one guy, okay. Two guys, okay. Have a rash of injuries, fine. Schematics, I'll listen to that for a little bit. When everybody gets worse, it's on you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Touchdown in the second half, wiped out by OPI. Good call. Probably an unnecessary.
Well.
Yeah, just not real good there. LSU had the ball for 2/3 of the game because they were an incredible 13 of 24 on third down. You throw in 2 more conversions on fourth down, scored 16 points. Red zone problems. You and I were talking about it in the hallway walking in here. What are your wins? Against Ole Miss, you didn't lead till the end. South Carolina, you had to fade a field goal at the gun.
You had to get 2 pick sixes called back.
Yeah. In the Arkansas game, I said, well, the Arkansas game, they won pretty decisively. And you said, yeah, well, they kicked 4 field goals. Yeah, they did, because the red zone problems have been a problem all year. But this was like the red zone extended. So, and then at the end, when you needed one more stop, the defense was finally exhausted enough. They did what they could for a lot of the day. They weren't perfect. They made a lot of mistakes, but they gave you a chance. Okay, I mean, they hung in there as long as they could. In 13 points in 3 quarters, and then, well, at the end they caved. So to me, it's down the list of things today. So there's a lot of places that you could put the blame, okay, on what has happened to a team that is essentially 4-4 now. Because I'm not counting the rental wins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the athletic director, you said, we buy you 3. Okay, this year they only bought them 2.
Yeah.
All right, so you bought you 2. Anybody could have coached those games. You're 4-4. So you could talk about the offensive line. You could talk about the play calling. You could talk about the secondary. You could talk about the roster, is not in the shape that it should be. You could talk about, any kind of communications that was, consistency. That was a big road away. So I took some time after the game, and I decided where I would assess every portion of the blame. I did it by percentage, okay? I got it written down right here. Brian Kelly, 100%.
There you go.
The whole thing. On him. Every bit of it. On him. You want the big salary, you want the big office, you want the good parking spot, it's on you, boss. When you get up there on Monday and say, we need to coach better, say, I need to coach better.
Yeah.
If the offensive line is not good enough, these are the players you recruited. Actually, not all of them.
Yeah.
Should be. Some of them you recruited. This coach staff you put together. If the roster's not talented enough somewhere, that's on you. If the coaching staff's not getting the job done, that's on you. Plays not getting in on time, that's on you. Your fault, my fault, nobody's fault. You got the title, you got the salary, you got everything on you. You can take in the individual meeting anybody you want to blame, okay? You put the staff together, you put the roster together, you're expected to produce better than this, because a 500 record, which is what you got, is not what LSU's paying for. And you're in year 3. So you can stop with he inherited 39 players, or the schedule's this, or stop it. On you, okay? Today was, we're in the last month of the 3rd year. You've had time. So anything that's going wrong with this, the buck stops with you, like the old president said, okay? Harry Truman. He said, the buck stops here. I think it was Harry Truman. It's on you.
Go past all that. I mean, go to the strength and conditioning staff, because I've never seen a group of guys up front get their ass beat, thrown around like rag dolls 3 weeks in a row.
He hired those guys too.
Yeah.
He oversees that too. Everything's on him. You don't want me to blame the kids. You don't want me to blame the staff. Fine, I'll blame you, because that's where it is. He understands that.
Well, that's why I really want to see postgame tonight, because if I had to hear the same thing I've heard the last 2 weeks, and I know you get to a point to where what else can he say? But I mean, this has gone from, okay, they changed quarterbacks at A&M. It was ugly and it was bad, but we were like, they played really great in the first half.
Yeah.
A change that they weren't ready for. They had issues. But then you come out and look absolutely pathetic at home against Alabama. You look pathetic, terrible. And for the most part of this game, you look pathetic and terrible. I mean, that's back-to-back weeks of just looking awful.
As much as anything, they hired Brian Kelly for his experience. The resume that he had when he came in here was as good as any, or better actually, than any coach they've hired, actually really in any sport until Kim Mulkey got here. And his experience level is what they hired to deal with all of this, okay? Anybody, not anybody, but once you get to a certain level of head coaching, you can X and O. You don't get to that point without being able to X and O, okay? I'm not really hiring a head coach. X and O is down the list, okay? The first thing I need is somebody who can lead. I need somebody who can deal with people. I need somebody who can make hard decisions. I need somebody who can manage. More than anything, I need a mind at work. I need somebody who can handle the day-to-day problems because they have multiplied, even since the time you played, Rich, okay?
Yeah.
How many times they have to recruit you again after you got to campus?
I was stuck there for 3 years.
Yeah. And that ain't the case anymore. No. Every player's got to be recruited every day. Every day you got somebody coming at you. They lost a recruit right after the game to Ole Miss. If you think the timing was coincidental, you don't know Lane Kiffin. It was an offensive lineman, too, as if
out of Mississippi,
you could,
too.
Right, okay. So you hired Kelly's experience to deal with every situation that you know is coming and all the ones you don't. And you ain't getting it, boss.
This is the first time, I've backed Kelly for a long time and been pretty good with everything that was going on. This is the first time that I was shaken a little bit when I saw Kyron Lacey go cuss him out to his face on the sideline tonight, jumping at him. I don't know if he's cussing at him, but he's screaming, throwing a fit in his face. Like, we're starting to see things that don't look good.
It doesn't look good. That's texted one person the whole game because I turned my phone off usually, but somebody caught me about 4 minutes in before I could turn my phone off. And I said, what do you think? I said, this doesn't look good at all. And that's how I feel about how the team has looked the last month. This doesn't look good at all. Your confidence is shaking this week. Mine was shaking last week. This was just a crystallization of what I saw start at A&M, which you can write that off maybe. Everybody can have a bad half, okay? That happens. Alabama's really good team, okay? Not as good as some of the Saban teams, but they're still really good. This was a 4-5 Florida Gator team who, let's be real honest, if the University of Florida had a sitting president, Billy Napier would probably be out of a job right now.
Yeah.
My opinion only. Nobody's told me that. But they ain't had 3 straight losing seasons at the University of Florida in forever, and if they have 4, well, it look like they're going to at least get to 500 now. But a lot of other athletic directors, including the one that preceded this one, would have probably fired him by now.
Mm-hmm.
You know Jeremy Foley, okay? Foley would have probably fired him by now. So that's who you lost to today. You can make all the Sunbelt Billy jokes that you want, but the guy's got him still playing hard, and Lagway was out there basically playing on one leg. I'm not questioning anybody's toughness. Garrett Nussmeier was tough as hell today. Caden Durham was tough as hell. Those guys got beat up.
I just don't see the fire out there. Nobody's getting, like, I think I still get angrier than what I'm seeing anybody out there. It just looks so bad play. Shrug your shoulders. Let's get back in the huddle. Try it again.
Mm. You got a very limited amount of time for the anger before the apathy comes in. Okay, and you wonder with some, not all, but some of the efforts that you've seen the last 2 weeks. Not all of them, but some of them.
The thing that's going to drive me crazy is, like, the whole game is trash for the most part. I mean, there was no rhythm they could get into. They finally rushed for 160 yards, but you give up more sacks than you gave up the whole previous year. I mean, 7 sacks. You had 6 given up all season. But when you're trying to make that drive, and like, I trick myself every freaking week, I still believe that something can happen. I'm watching it. Something can happen. They got timeouts. We can make that move.
You're a wonderfully optimistic person, man. Well, that's what I love about you.
That's the player.
It's great,
like, you always think you can come back and win, no matter what. You think you can come back and win. And I'm just talking about from the player's mindset, where I understand where they're coming from. But to get in that scenario and have people walk to the freaking line, walk to get lined up at receiver, look into the sideline. You got 2.5 minutes left. I want to run plays before we get to the 2-minute warning. Save me a timeout. I need as much time as possible. And there was no sense of urgency on the damn field.
499-9898 is the number to call. Bears Hotline. We'll take a break, come back and get your phone calls. Florida wins at 27-16. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
$98.1.
$499-9898 is the number to call. LeBarish Hotline. All right, let's go. Jules is in New Mexico. Jules, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Look, just one thing, and maybe you guys can put some light on it. The 2 minutes left, 2nd and 22, and you're throwing a ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I just don't get it. Make it make sense to me. MAGA.
I wish I could, but in the Alabama game, when it's 4th and 7, we're doing the same thing. Nussmeier's confidence is shaking right now, and it's hard to put it all on Nuss. They're getting no protection up the middle. You can run it, the guard between Chester and Mabanga. Somebody's getting free every time. And go back and watch this game. They didn't even line up over the right guards. They just shifted people over there to attack them too.
Can I offer another suggestion why they threw the ball so short with so much yardage to go more than one time, not just that time, without being able to see?
Open?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't see down the field from the TV angle, but I know Garrett Nussmeier can recognize an open receiver, and I know he can deliver the football. So if he's throwing the ball 4 yards down the field with 22 to go, then I got to figure there ain't – and believe me, he, of all quarterbacks, will try to fit it into any open window he can. So if he's not throwing it down the field, my guess is there ain't anybody open.
It's not only that, though. He's not having the time anymore because, with Dellinger was in there, you didn't see this pressure up the middle. They're not getting around the edges. He's getting pushed from the pocket every time up the middle. He's not having the time to look down the field. And I'm with you because a lot of times I look, nobody was open either. We don't have – Aaron Anderson's our best receiver on this team, and he should be a number 2 or 3 on a good receiving squad.
He plays hard. Yeah. He's gotten better. He played through an injury. I'm convinced he played through more of an injury than he played through more of an injury than we realized or he let on last year. He's played his butt off, and he deserves credit for it. I wish there were more like him. Earl is in Gonzales. Earl, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you doing, Charlie?
All right.
Great.
Yeah, so I had some concerns, first of all, so leadership, and then obviously, offensive line. So it seems like we did pretty good in the first half, first quarter and a half, quarter and 3 quarters, and next thing you know, we can't block like in the middle. So what happened? Like, can we create like some type of obviously push up front or blocking up front? So what happened at halftime? And leadership also, when it comes to leadership, I'm highly concerned up front.
I thank you for the call. I don't know that they set the world on fire
in the first
half. I'm going back to my notes on the first touchdown drive, which was they had it was a 3rd down and 10. They had a drop off to Williams. They got on the first down. They had another second 3rd down and 10. Another dump down to Williams. They got the first. They had a 2nd down and 7. They had a short completion to Taylor, and then the 3rd down and 9. Up the middle for the touchdown to Anderson, who got behind. And
it was a split second away from getting sacked.
Yeah, Nussmeier stepped up. It was a nice throw. But they were behind the sticks that whole drive. I mean, that was 3 – just in my notes here, and forgive me if I'm a little bit scattered here, but I got a 3rd and 10, dump down to Williams for the first, another 3rd down and 10, dump down to Williams for the first. 2nd and 7 is okay. Taylor got the first, and then the touchdown came on 3rd down and 9. So they were behind the sticks all 3 times, and you get a couple of dump downs that Williams gets the first down, and then a nice play on the touchdown, which was Nussmeier stepping up and delivering a nice ball to Anderson, who, like I said, is playing pretty well, and that's it. So I don't know that that's the way you want to draw up a drive, is to have two check downs on 3rd and 10, work out for first downs, and then get 3rd and 9 to have to, go over the top for a touchdown.
In the last 10 quarters of football, we've scored 3 touchdowns, and one of them being a garbage time against Alabama's freshman with 17 seconds left. So really 2 touchdowns in the last 10 quarters of football. I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, they haven't been able to get anything done.
499-9898 is the number. Ryan is in Broussard. Ryan, welcome into the show.
Hey, I'm not going to profess to be like a schematics guy or anything, but I've watched a lot of LSU football over the years. And is it me? Does it look like he's losing the team? Is it a thing of youth? Maybe not just giving up, like they don't see like there's any way to win the game? Because it doesn't seem like they're really giving any effort, even in the last 2 games, whenever, it's like a 2 minute or 3 minutes left. And also, could you explain the rules of football?
Thanks. It's funny. The suspensions bothered me. Okay, and I'm not saying this well after the fact. They seem insignificant. If this was the first game and, this was something you did in the off season, we used to have a lot of that. Then they fixed the rules and you don't really see too much of that anymore. If you were winning and everything's fine and somebody individually went off and did something dumb, missed a I don't know,
got
meeting,
in a bar fight, did something, whatever.
That kind of stuff happens. You got two. When you're in this spot, when everybody's looking to see how you respond, you have any pride to you? Do you have any resolve? Do you have any accountability? And your upperclassman gets suspended this week. I'm sorry, that's a bad sign to me.
When your leader on offense comes and chews the coach out on the sideline,
that ain't good either.
That ain't good either. I mean,
No.
There's a lot of things that I'm seeing, and look, we can talk about a defense. They've had their issues. I feel like 10 of the 12 players on defense bust their ass every time. There's guys that are never quitting. There's guys that are fighting their way out. But his offense looks like they're throwing their hands up. I mean, when you give up 7 sacks and they just kind of walk over there and pick up the quarterback and just move on back to the huddle. There's no frustration. It blows my mind.
There are missed blocks. Okay, you pull a guard, he misses a kick out block. You got a guard trying to reach on a linebacker. You got a player trying to get to the second level, misses a block. Fine. Do you know how many times they missed a guy right in front of them?
The guy just ran right by him.
Right in front of them. The guy that's 2 feet away from you at the snap of the football, miss altogether. How does that happen?
90% of the time, too. It's freaking ridiculous.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I wanted to walk in here and say, you to tell me, well, Charles, that's not really what happened. You saw it wrong.
No, I mean, look, you talk to NFL offensive linemen, a lot of the time they say, I just want to get in the way for that split second. Get in the way, let my athlete make a play. And we're not even getting in the way.
Yeah.
Like, we're just standing there, looking around.
It's hard to ask you to take a 300-pound guy and drive him 10 yards off the ball. I mean, we're not asking for that, but you got to get in his way.
When you don't get touched as an offensive lineman and the quarterback gets sacked, there's big issues.
Shame on you. Charles is in Mobile on the LaBerge Hotline. Charles, welcome into the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I wanted to ask just sort of a general overview question, and this may be more of a question for Richard because he's been in and around the program, but I've been watching Kelly for about 3 years now, just like you have. And the sense I get from him is that he's not really engaged with what's going on with his team. He seems to be the type of guy that delegates a lot to his coordinators and position coaches and stuff like that. And he shows up for his press conferences once a week, and he sounds somewhat intelligent about what's going on, but I really get the sense that he's not rolling up the sleeves and getting his hands dirty. I mean, the only other explanation for what we've seen the past 2 or 3 weeks is that he's incompetent, and I really don't think that Brian Kelly's an incompetent coach. I really think that he's just taken a lazy, hands-off approach to how this team's being run. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
This is the first time I just told Charlie that my confidence in Brian Kelly's been questioned because this is the first time that a Brian Kelly team at LSU hasn't gotten better as the season went on. I felt like we were always getting better. Things were getting better. Things were happening, and we were playing pretty damn good football in the last quarter of the season. We just played the last 10 quarters been the worst football LSU's played since Orgeron was here in his last 2 years. I mean, it's terrible. I don't understand. I wasn't around how he coached at Notre Dame. One thing and this could be completely thrown off the shoulder, when Garrett Nussmeier goes down and your whole medical staff goes to check on him. First time I've seen a head coach not go check on him. And that could be such little things, but I see that as a player. I'm used to when key guys. When you think they might be hurt, Les Miles was on the field to check you out. Everybody was there to check you out, and he just leaves it up to whoever's delegated to that role. I mean, yeah, right now is the only time since it started that I'm questioning some things with Brian Kelly.
499-9898 is the number to call on LaBerge Hotline. We'll take a break. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
.1.
Eagle 98.1 game day continues. LSU falls to Florida 27-16. 499-9898 is the number to call on the LaBerge hotline. Bill in Hammond is next. Bill, welcome into the show.
Good evening, gentlemen. Just a couple of things. I'm trying to go in order here. I don't want to keep rambling because everybody could ramble at this point. But and I didn't know that they had suspensions before the game. And so I was kind of looking at it from a clear perspective without knowing that. And, you know, commitment is an amazing thing. And when they was going for that first, when they ran that fourth, they were trying to run a fourth down play at midfield on the first drive. And they get up to the line, and nobody knows really what we're going to do. Okay. All right, call timeout. Waste of timeout. Then you come back up to the line, and they run a garbage play. Nobody's committed to that. I mean, it was so easy to tell there was no commitment there. So that was aggravating right from the get. And then halfway through and Richard alluded to this a little bit ago, halfway through the second quarter, I was agitated, and my girlfriend happened to walk in the room, and she goes, "What's the matter?" I said, "I've never seen a team get regress this much. Usually teams get better as the year goes along, but they're getting worse." I mean, it was, and so I'm glad Richard alluded to it. I'm glad I wasn't just seeing things, but man.
Thank you for the call. And nobody knew about the suspensions. The exact words that they gave to the broadcast team on TV was not meeting team standards. That's a catch-all phrase could mean a whole bunch of stuff. Richard, we've gone through that. We went through that sequence at the beginning of the show, but what do you think? Was it a quarterback sneak that they had called when they got to the line and bailed out of it?
And they saw everybody squeeze the line. They have no confidence in. Like at that point, you're watching the center and the two guards that are all true or redshirt freshmen, whatever it was, getting no push. They're getting blown up. The play call, I don't think it's a garbage call. I mean, Thomas, every time that he's gotten that play, he usually gets 3 yards, gets something. But to motion that play in, call a timeout, call that play in, and put Trey'Dez Green as the point man. That play is only successful if he does his block. That's on coaching to me. I mean, I'm not trying to bash Green or anything, but if that's the time that you take a timeout, you go over there and huddle, and like I said, this is your first drive. You're still in your freaking go plays. You're in the script. Your script. Yeah. And that's the play you call and put him in that situation. That's when Brian Kelly says, "Oh, we got to put the players in better positions." Well, this is 3 weeks in a row you didn't do it.
I want you to, when you break the film down for the podcast we're going to do on Monday, if you're really into beating yourself up, watch the podcast with us on Monday.
Yeah.
We're going to show you exactly how things went wrong. But I think it was Anderson, but I could be misremembering. It's a player in the short slot that is by himself. There's nobody up on him. If Nussmeier takes one step and throws him the ball, he's going to be able to catch the ball and fall down and make the first down. Now, Nuss has got to check out and get into that. Now, there's probably some other issues with that, but it was there.
It's a hot check.
Yeah, I mean,
every team has that. It's a hot check.
Promise me you'll look at that?
I promise I'll look at that.
Write it down. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's back to the phones. Ed is in North Carolina. Ed, welcome into the show.
Thank you very much. First off, you nailed it as usual on your opening. So my question is, yes, everything does fall at the feet of Brian Kelly. So realistically, what is it going to take for LSU to move on from Brian Kelly? I'll hang up and listen.
$70 million. You got it? No, I mean, we're not in the position.
You want to pass the hat?
Yeah, we're not in the position. I had people, my phone was blowing up all afternoon, and everybody, fire Brian Kelly, fire Brian Kelly. We're not A&M. We don't have $70 million to file, 75, whatever it was, to fire Jimbo Fisher. We don't have $60 million after next year. And to get into those contract points, I mean, that's a whole nother deal. These contracts they have are unfreaking real.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Honest as you can be. If the buyout was $15 million, how would you feel? Well, $15 million is just an arbitrary number.
No. If it's Ed Orgeron at $17 million.
Okay. The number's kind of arbitrary because it's not our money. If the amount of the buyout were something that LSU could reasonably swallow, how would you feel?
I'm 50-50. I mean, look, because
I don't think he deserves to be fired right now.
Either.
Okay,
I mean,
based on the 3-year body work, I don't think he deserves to be fired. I'm nervous as hell about what direction they're heading in, but I don't think after the last 2 years and what has happened so far this year that 3 weeks ago I didn't think he deserved to be fired.
No.
I don't think over a 3-week period I should have changed my mind to the point where he'd be fired. But the only thing anybody ever says, whenever says, "Well, what is it going to take to move on from it?" I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's a non-starter because of the contract. Well, what if the contract wasn't? Let me try to be objective about how the job that the coach is doing. Let me take the contract out of it for a second. The job the coach is doing, if money were no factor, how would I feel about moving on with him as a coach? And I can tell you how I'd feel. I'd say, BK, okay, this year was a fail.
Regardless,
you got next year to do this, okay? Not for nothing. Ed Orgeron had one 3-game losing streak in his tenure at LSU and got fired right after it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we went 500 2 years in a row.
The leash, I told you at the top of the show, God bless Billy Napier. I got nothing against him, but if there was a sitting president at the University of Florida, I think he would have gotten fired 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe last week after that loss against Texas. Okay. There's a situation that they got to deal with, and this situation LSU's got to deal. A&M would have gotten rid of Jimbo Fisher probably a year before they did, if not for the contract. So the contracts are in play. The administration's in play. How would you feel if money were not an object?
He's got one more year.
Yes, that's how
That's exactly where I'm
next
at.
year you have to make the playoffs or that's it. We're going to move on. Unfortunately, the contract is in play.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it head on. I mean, that's where I'm at. He needs one more year would determine for me because the first you won 10 years. You came off of 2 500 back-to-back seasons that were the worst we'd seen in a long time. He comes back, wins 10 games, beats Alabama, lose some games we shouldn't lose. The next year, you're another 10 win, which I know 10 wins isn't meaning as much anymore, but that was progression. You won 10 wins back-to-back after going 500 back-to-back. This was the year everybody looked forward to. You had this offensive line that was heralded from every freaking news source out there, and they haven't performed. But next year, to me, like you got to do something.
You know why 10 wins doesn't?
It was a 12-team playoff.
Well, okay, that's one of the things. But when 10 wins is 3 of them are Grambling, Georgia State, and Army last year, and that's 3, and 4 is a Wisconsin team in the bowl game. That's whatever is it's not the whole Wisconsin team. And the year before that, it's Southern and New Mexico and UAB and what was left of Purdue. Okay, it don't feel like 10 wins. It feels like 6 wins.
Yeah,
that's why when you played, okay, there were still rental wins when you played, but the bowl game still meant something when you played. The bowl games don't mean anything anymore. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just where we are. They don't, when you played, you would have never thought about sitting out of the bowl game.
No.
Flynn would have never thought about sitting out that Peach Bowl against Miami. You could have pulled Hester out of that Sugar Bowl with a truck, okay? It's not that way anymore, okay? If you've got, I don't know, a bowling date, you opt out of the bowl game. I mean, if you got a tennis match, I mean, if you got a date with your girlfriend to go to the movies, you don't go to the bowl game anymore. That's why 10 wins doesn't mean what it used to.
You want to see where this team chemistry is, how much Brian Kelly has the team? Watch the next 2 weeks. If some of these guys start,
I said that last week, Rich, and I watched 2 upperclassmen get suspended today. Okay, I don't. And again, they probably did something real minor because if it was more serious, I would hope it would be more than 1 quarter. But that tells me where your focus is.
I don't even know if it's real minor. At this point, he feels like he has to win. It's almost like they did something bad enough to get suspended the game, and I have no clue what they did. But I would be like, okay, if it was in a normal situation where I felt I was better, they're done for the game. If I'm going to suspend you, it's a game, not a quarter. They could have done something that he's like, I got to suspend him, but I can't afford to lose him.
That's exactly what I think he said.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think he thought. Ed in North Carolina is next. Ed, welcome into the show. Or did we do that?
We just did Ed.
I'm sorry. Bill in Charles River? River Charles? Bill?
False River, Charlie.
False River. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the spell check on the computer got me. Okay.
Yeah.
What's up, Bill? How you doing?
Good. You know, Charlie, 20 years ago when I used to call you and my son-in-law, and I was in the bag pretty good, these were a lot more fun. But, you know, what y'all been talking about is absolutely dead on as far as the looks like he's about to start losing the team, and that's a whole lot easier to do now because the guys can go different places. But I've got a solution to get rid of him, and it won't cost millions of dollars. All we have to do is find a very attractive young lady.
Bill, Bill,
are
you in the bag again? Bill, come on, man.
They spend a lot of time at the golf course nowadays.
Come on, Bill.
All you gotta do is have her show up.
I'm going to take that for the tongue-in-cheek that it is. Look, man, I ain't looking to fire nobody. I would much rather the guy have success here. I mean, you every time you start over, it's just that you got to start over. You got to assemble a whole new staff. You got to start building relationships and recruiting again. You got to rebuild the trust with the team. You got to get to know everybody. You got to you got to find somebody to drive you to Bogalusa because you don't know where Bogalusa is because you're not from Louisiana. I mean, I really don't want to start over. I'd rather not do that if I don't have to. Sometimes it's necessary, but I'm not going there right now. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, look, this looks like it's going in the wrong direction. And if you look at the whole, I'll be the first person to tell you that after the Arkansas game, we sat up here and was like, okay, look, they haven't played their best football yet. I'd go back and run the tape. I don't know exactly what we said, but I know the gist. The gist of it was, hey, against Arkansas, we're messing the red zone. Still won by 24 points on the road. That's pretty good. Didn't play our best game against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is a damn good football team. And guess what? Won anyway. Went to South Carolina. Weren't very impressed by that win at the time. That win looks damn impressive now on the last play. Fading a field goal on the last play of the game. All right, they had, they weren't ready to go right out to shoot against USC. But hell, Rich, they're going to A&M with first place on the line. They haven't played their best football. They're still undefeated in the conference. Guess what, man? Brian Kelly's teams always get better.
Yeah.
Well, they get to A&M. They got the lead at the half, and everything looks fantastic. And then Nussmeier threw an interception, and A&M went to their bullpen, and everything went to hell. So I don't want to say that everything's terrible, but we covered a lot of the stuff earlier in the season by thinking, okay, we won despite some of this stuff. It'll get better. It hasn't gotten better. What it's done is it's come back to bite you. The red zone, you got away with all those red zone things at Arkansas, and you won. Well, you have all those red zone problems later in the season, and guess what? You don't win at A&M, and you don't win against Florida, and you were never in the game against Alabama.
I got no firsthand knowledge. I've gotten a lot of text. You want to see who's in the game, from what I've told, and like I said, no firsthand knowledge, but I've had a lot of people tell this to me. Go to LeBerge on Thursday night and see who's ready for the game.
499-9898 is the number to call on the LeBerge hotline.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
.1.
Eagle 98.1 game day continues. Florida wins at 27-16. 499-9898 is the number to call. Little Bears hotline. Charlie's in Prairieville. Charlie, welcome in the show.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
So let's just look at next year. Do y'all really think it's going to get any better?
No. I just said that on the off.
I agree. But let me ask y'all this. I hadn't heard this name yet tonight. Scott Woodward. He's the one who hired this clown, right?
Yes, he did. I wouldn't go so far as to call him a clown.
Yeah.
I'd call him a football coach with a lot of problems, but I wouldn't call him a clown.
Would you call Jimbo a clown?
No, I wouldn't call Jimbo a clown.
Well, that's 2. He's 0 for 2 right now.
Well, thankfully, the other $100 million boondoggle was at another school. I get where you're coming from, though. Look,
True that, but I mean, really, why is these universities held hostage by these coaches, man? This is ridiculous.
I'm not on this part. We are in 100% lockstep. Okay, I for the life of me cannot. Well, I know why. Okay, and it's fear. Okay, if you're an athletic director, the last thing you want to do is lose your football coach. Okay, and so believe me, Jimmy Sexton's got as much to do with this as anybody that has ever been involved in college football. He convinced enough athletic directors at the beginning of all of this that there should be no buyout for the coach and all the liability should be on the school. And he had schools over such a barrel, so scared, because every athletic director, if you're at a school like LSU, most of the time you get to, as an athletic director, you get to hire one coach. Because if you don't hire one bad coach, if you hire one bad coach, generally you don't get to hire a second one. Every now and then, if you got enough clout, you can do it. But most of the time, if you hire a bad one, you don't get to hire a second one. So he convinced them that all of the liability needed to be on the school. Saban's first contract was outlandish at LSU. It was $1.2 million a year, which sounds like, paperclip money now. But in 1999, that was a bunch of money. We had never dreamed of an LSU coach making that much money. But what made the contract outlandish was not the $1.2 million. It was that if Saban left, LSU if they fired him, they owed him the entire contract, basically. And if he left, he owed him nothing. And every contract that came after that seemed to just double down on it. Now, let me back up and tell you another story from 1994 when LSU was trying to replace Curly Holman. They hired a coach named Pat Sullivan. Everybody remembers Pat Sullivan. He was the Heisman Trophy winner at Auburn. He was coaching at TCU. And they had a deal done, they thought, and they had a press conference set up. We got the notice, okay? This is before emails and everything else. And they sent out a notice.
Got a fax.
Press conference. Yes. Boy, I wish I still had that fax. Press conference tomorrow, 1 o'clock. LSU to announce head coach. And then about 3 hours later, we got another one, press conference canceled. What happened? couldn't handle his buyout because at that time the coach had to buy out the contract to leave the school. And Sullivan didn't want to pay it at TCU. It was somewhere, if I remember my numbers are right, somewhere in the area, you're going to laugh, $400,000, okay? And he was like, I'm not paying it. And Joe Dean said, we're not paying it. And they said, well, if you're not paying it, then you don't get the job. He said, you already called a press conference. I said, I'll cancel a press conference. And they did. And LSU had to spend 2 more weeks interviewing coaches till they hired Jerry DiNardo, who also had a buyout problem and had to pay Vanderbilt when he left, okay? But somewhere between DiNardo and Saban, the pendulum swung. I blame Jimmy Sexton for a lot of this, okay? 100%. And then all the liability was on the school. And it got to the point where every contract has a weighted accelerator for the coach, but no way to back up. I'll give you an example. Brent Venables signed a contract. He was hired the same year as Brian Kelly, okay? He signed a standard 5-year deal. He had a lousy first 2 years by Oklahoma standard. Got a contract extension for somewhere in the offseason. Why? Who's coming to hire Brent Venables away from Oklahoma? Nobody. All right? Not that they're going to pay more than Oklahoma or be a better job than Oklahoma. Nobody. Yet he got more, which all that means is Venables is going to get more money if he gets fired. Now, what happens if Venables actually does well? Let's say he comes out next year and goes 12-0, goes to the playoff, wins the national championship. What are they going to do? They're going to give him another extension and another raise. But if he does badly, all they got to do is pay him more money. You know whom my favorite? I'm boring you. I get it. But with this contract stuff, but this drives me nuts. Okay, the Dodgers won 4 world titles under Walter Alston. He coached for 23 years. You know how many contracts Walter Alston signed with the Dodgers in 23 years? 23. He signed 23 one-year contracts. 23 one-year contracts. He won 4 World Series titles and went to the Hall of Fame. My point is, Indiana this morning signed Kirk Cignetti to an 8-year contract extension. Okay, Cignetti's done arguably as good a job as has ever been done in college football. He's got Indiana at 10-0. They're going to be lined up after the season to hire him. That I get. But Woodward's not the only one. He may be the most egregious offender of this stuff. But you paint yourself into a corner where you got no outs. If you want to get rid of the guy, you can't afford to. And every time they exceed expectations by 1 inch, you got to pay them more. I don't know what you do about that, but I got to look at the next contract that the next coach signs here and go, stop the insanity.
But you won't, because the fan base is going to lose their mind if you hire the wrong person.
Because of fear.
The fear. It's all fear-driven. And look, to me, it's karma, because for the longest time, a football coach could do whatever he wanted to do, and a player was stuck there for years without having to sit out. And we always complained about it,
right?
Moaned about it. He does a bad job. There's nothing he can do, but I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. And now these players can go wherever they want.
Right.
The playing field's evened. That's up to somebody else to figure out how to stop it. But I don't see these contracts stopping anytime soon.
No, I don't either. And it just drives me nuts that you can get paid way more to do a bad job.
If I want to retire, let me go sign one of these contracts, and I don't give a damn what happens. I'm walking away with $100 million regardless what I do or not.
Right.
Where's my motive? Where's my incentive? Well, I know everybody's ego-driven, and I'm kind of talking tongue-in-cheek. Like, I know this bothers Brian Kelly. I know he's not sleeping good tonight, even though he's making all that money. But, the player, he's playing every play to keep his career going. When you sign these contracts with coaches, what does it really matter?
Talked to Jimbo lately?
He's pretty happy on the freaking SEC Network radio show.
I bet he is. Aaron is in Minden. Aaron, welcome into the show.
What's going on, fellas? I always enjoy listening to y'all, even the depressing shows after a loss. Appreciate what y'all do.
Thanks.
Hey, I got a quick question. I know Kelly's safe this year. I mean, we all know he's not going anywhere. Even if he loses the rest of the games, he's not going anywhere. But do you think Sloan's job is safe? Because some of those play calls, I mean, I'm not a coach. I don't claim to be, but man, I mean, I don't know. I just want to get your take on that.
Sloan's tied to Underwood, so that's a pretty big ace in the hole to have.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be oblivious. And watching this game, it's the first time I've seen Brian Kelly scanning the play call sheet all day long.
Yeah. I've gotten actually a couple of texts about that.
That's the first time I've noticed it all year long.
You think he was calling plays?
I think he was involved 100%.
Good. Fine. I got no problem with that.
But do you remember another game where he had that play sheet in front of him all day long?
I don't.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm actively watching for. I mean, I'm sure there'll be 100 screenshots of it, by this time tomorrow of him with a play sheet. If the head coach wants to get involved calling the plays, then call the plays, okay? I would rather one person call the plays, but if the offensive coordinator can't get them in on time, and Kelly wants to call the plays, call the plays. What I don't like is when the offensive coordinator calls some of the plays. They used to drive me crazy about less because we knew what he did, okay? He would call some of the plays. I don't want you to call some of the plays. I either want you to call all of the plays or none of the plays because there's a sequencing to this stuff.
Yeah.
And
there's a rhythm, and this is where it brings me back to me is we have no rhythm on offense.
None. And not getting plays in, you and I talked about that. I asked you in the pregame, and you gave a very detailed description of why we don't do as much motion. It's because we don't get the plays in with enough time to run enough motion.
Yeah.
It's simply kind of to summarize what you said. Well, that's a problem. If Kelly wants to call the plays, but don't call some of the plays.
Don't have the play sheet just to sit there and override plays. Either call the plays, don't be in position just to override plays.
Because to me, that's when
you
that's
don't
when
trust your coordinator
confusion.
At that point. And that's to me, you're telling me that I don't 100% trust him. If I'm going to sit here and look over everything you're calling, I'm like, we're not doing that. We're doing this. It gets to the point to where you're not 100% confident what plays are going to be called.
To me, when you get the head coach invited, you get the T-Bob game, right?
Yeah.
The Tennessee game, all right? You got 3 players coming in and 3 players going out, and the clock's running, and everybody's going crazy, and T-Bob's got to snap the ball to save their ass.
Yeah.
Right? Caller before that had one more thing I wanted to talk about. He says, do you see it getting better next year? You said no. I can't answer that question.
Well, I don't know the transfer portal deal and all that, but
it's a big deal because before the transfer portal, you turned over 25 to 35% of your roster. Okay, now that number could be as high as 60% of your roster. I don't think it'll be that high in this case, but even if they turn over 45% of this roster, or the actual players, maybe not the down the line roster guys, but if 45% of your players next year are different, and they're not all true freshmen, who are they? I don't know. Are you going to have to change quarterbacks? I don't know. Are you going to change coaches? I don't know. At this time last year, what would you have predicted for Indiana football?
Yeah.
Not 10-0. Okay, so I don't know what next year is going to look like. I can't tell. May be great, might be terrible, might be somewhere in between. But I can't tell you here in November exactly what that was going to look like. 10 years ago, I could have given you a reasonable idea, but I can't do that anymore.
Well, where I can question it is, we knew where our deficiencies were this year.
Yeah.
Did we go out and pay the guys we needed to get?
Not really, no.
Okay, because we didn't want to spend money, pay these guys that much money to come here.
That's a lack of confidence in your talent evaluators and your resource allocators.
And that's what I'm judging next year off of.
Okay, that's fair. I gotta wait. I gotta see what the roster looks like before I can hazard a guess at what a record might be. 499-9898 is the number to call. Bob is in Covington. Bob, welcome to the show.
How you doing, guys? Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
As far as the coaches' contracts, what people forgot is most of the coaches got their contracts because they said they couldn't recruit in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
NIL kind of took all that away. You can follow a kid from the 8th grade, and somebody comes up with $500,000 3 hours before signing, and he's gone. So that argument's gone. I don't know who's going to start this thing if you want to make a coach rich and you think he's a great coach, pay him $20 million a year, but for 2 years.
That's my deal.
100%.
So somebody's got to stop this somewhere.
Bob, let me tell you something about that. I need 5 years on my contract to recruit. That was a lie 30 years ago. That
And
was
it's still a lie.
they're not even trying to peddle that lie anymore. Okay, Jimmy Sexton made it to where you don't have to peddle that lie anymore. That was a lie in 1990. Okay, because in 1990 you didn't get 5 years. Even in 1990, you didn't get 5 years. You could be fired. When DiNardo got the job here, he says, "Look, I know I got 3.5 years to get it done." That was in 1994. You had no guarantee 35 years ago that with 5 years on a contract you were going to get 5 years. You could tell a kid that, but it was a lie. Coach, and they said it enough times, and the coaches said it enough times. I need 5 years. I need 5 years. We'll all stick to the same BS story, and it worked. I give them credit.
What they do in recruiting. When you're getting recruited by everybody else outside of the school you're looking at, they're like, he's not going to make out that time. You're going to be there for the next 4 years. That doesn't matter anymore when you can move year to year depending on what you want to do.
Well, even 35 years ago, you might have had a 5-year contract. Didn't mean you were going to be there for 5 years. Yeah. But again, they want those years and those dollars on the contract, and they passed that lie off to the athletic directors. The athletic directors are the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters when it comes to negotiating these contracts, okay? They're like, forever.
We need a doge of NCAA football coaches.
My goodness. They have been routed and rerouted on this stuff. Craig's in New Iberia. Craig, welcome into the show.
Yeah, one of the things I made this comparison, and I'm hoping I hope it's not true, but how many games last year and the year before that we would say, if it wasn't for Jaden Daniels, we'd have lost that game. So I'm really hoping that, say, Jaden Daniels isn't to Brian Kelly what Cam Newton was to Gene Chizik and Jameis Winston was to Jimbo at Florida State. I mean, Brian Kelly did have a decent run at Notre Dame, but it's just looking awfully suspicious that that he had Jaden Daniels for 2 years and Jay Daniels really made him look good, and without that major piece of the pie, which Jay Daniels is Jay Daniels, right?
Yeah.
But without that, he seems very, very inept in play calling because Jay Daniels could ad-lib and turn a bad play into a 80-yard touchdown run in the blink of an eye. I'm gonna hang up and listen to you guys.
Thanks, Craig. I think two things can be true. I think Jaden Daniels did bail him out of a lot of stuff last year.
But they went and got Jaden Daniels, so you can give some of that credit to him.
Yeah, okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is Brian Kelly had a pretty long track record before Jaden Daniels. He won he won 200-some-odd games at multiple stops. Guy's been a winning coach. He's not perfect, and he's got his flaws. He's been a winning coach way past one quarterback. Chizik had no reasonable winning record outside of Cam Newton. Okay, when he was at Iowa State, he had a losing record. Don't you remember when the plane landed? We want a leader, not a loser. Okay, and then he got Cam Newton. He won the national championship, and 2 years later, they ran him off. Who was the other example that he gave? Jimbo. Okay, Jimbo had
highly sought it for a long time.
Yeah, Jimbo had winning seasons without Jameis Winston. Okay, not as long of a run as Kelly did, but Jimbo won other games. Okay, I'll give you a better example. It's real close to home. Curly Holman and Brett Favre. Without Brett Favre, there are some older LSU fans that still blame Brett Favre for Curly Holman. Brett Favre, without Brett Favre, some people blame Tex Schramm with not Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt. Gil Brandt told there was a famous quote he told Joe Dean: "Hire Curly Holman and don't look back." And Gil Brandt was a very respected front office guy for the Dallas Cowboys for 3 decades. But a lot of people blame Brett Favre. Said, without Brett Favre, LSU would have never got hung with Curly Holman. They're probably right, because there's no way that Curly would. But
that's the story of football. You can talk about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You can tie the most important player on the football field is the quarterback 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then he's married to that coach.
Yeah. So I'll tell you two things are true, Craig. Yes, Jaden Daniels made up for a lot of deficiencies last year, but Brian Kelly's got a lot longer track record with other quarterbacks and won a lot of games without him. So 499-9898 is the number to call on the LaBerge hotline. We'll take a break. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
.1.
I hope this is somewhat therapeutic. I was telling Richard a story during the break. We had the kids at the house, grandkids at the house. So I'm usually not terribly animated during the game, but from time to time I have scared the dog, okay, and run her under the bed because, raise my voice a little bit. I had to sit there the whole day and behave. It's a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, okay? So I got
a 7-year-old, 2-year-old, and a 9-year-old.
Okay, so I had to, the entire game. This feels good to kind of let it out a little bit, to talk. So I hope this is therapeutic for everybody else too. I mean, I hope we're doing a service here.
Look, I only cussed one time today.
Yeah.
And it was when the game was already over.
Well, not to cuss, just, just let it out.
No, I know.
Right,
the most frustrated I got was in the opening segment when you start talking to me. I'm like, now I can go. And get off my chest.
Right, yes. 499-9898 is the number. Garrett and Lauranger is next. Garrett, welcome into the show.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I keep hearing y'all talk about we can't get rid of Brian Kelly because of the buyout. However, is he not currently the defendant in a lawsuit against the school? Would that not be a reason we could get rid of him for cause?
You got a long way to go.
You're going to spend half that buyout and lawyers' fees, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, I understand what you're saying, and that's a very serious situation, and I'm not privy to the the specifics in that. I know what happened, and I understand what you're asking. I can't answer that question.
No, yeah, but to your point, I mean, to me, and I could make everybody mad. Like, I still think he needs one more year, and I'm not.
No, I do too. I mean, I'm not. We said we went through that a little while ago. But he's asking, can he be fired for cause? And my answer to that is, I don't know.
There's too many other people that could be fired for cause, and you could fight that out in a legal system over 3 or 4 years, and then determine that later.
We're not there yet anyway. I don't. No. Even if we sat here and said we thought he should go, which we're not saying. Let's be very clear about that. The athletic director, the president, is not saying that. Okay, this is a bad 3-week run, and you're not going to run somebody off of a contract like this or go to court like this over a bad 3-week run. But it doesn't mean that there's not some serious problems right now that you got to look at, and you got to do some big picture. You're 2 weeks from today, this is the end of the season. Okay, so it's not that far off. You got to look at all of this, but we're not saying move on. But to answer your question about cause, I can't answer your question. I'm sorry.
There's so many different things that go into this to me. I mean, look, Brad Davis was heralded up until this year. He brought the recruits in. We've had the highest recruited offensive lineman at LSU in a long time. We went into the year thinking they were going to be great. Look, they didn't perform, and none of them performed. And when you have the amount of procedural penalties you're getting from guys that were lauded as first-round draft picks, my son's 6U flag football team has less procedural penalties than they have right now. When you talk about Cortez Hankton, this is a bad receiver group. And I said this early on, and I got a lot of backlash. Everybody talking about how good they were. We don't have an elite receiver on this staff right now, on this roster. There's nobody that I'm throwing a 50-50 ball and feel confident with. Running back, okay, Frank Wilson does Frank Wilson things. Caden Durham is going to be an elite running back wherever he plays. The quarterback, we had Jaden Daniels. And look, Nussmeier has good attributes, but look, at this point in conference play, Nussmeier has more turnovers than touchdowns. There's a lot of questions. We've focused so much on the offense or on the defense. This is year one with this defensive staff, and I still feel like guys are getting better. It's not looking great. I mean, but there's moments where I see things improving on the defense that I don't see on the offense. The offense is 100% regressing.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I'm with you on the offensive line. We said that at the top of the show. I'm sorry, they've all gotten worse. The running back rotation, if you're going to have Josh Williams in there to pass block, then he's got to pass block better than
I just don't know who's making that call.
Yeah. Well, Brian Kelly told you this week it's Frank. Okay.
Yeah.
And he also dropped a key third down that was set up pretty well. So that's rough. Caden Durham not being in the game is hard to explain. The wide receivers, I'm going to tell you that Aaron Anderson's gotten better. That's why I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I think that kid is significantly better than he was a year ago. I think C.J. Daniels is tough. I think he'll make a hard catch. I don't think he's overly physically gifted, but I think he's tough. I think he'll throw a block. I think he'll catch a ball in traffic. I like him. He can play for me. Lacey's got some ability. He's made some big catches. He disappeared today.
But
you don't have Neighbors and Thomas, or
you don't have Odell and Jarvis.
No, you don't have those guys.
You don't have what we're used to having: Dwayne Bowe, Buster Davis, Early Doucette, Brandon LaFell.
No, you don't have those guys.
We can go through the line, but and I wasn't talking about Cortez Hankton, but I'm saying is recruiting. Like, these guys were all highly recruited.
Yeah.
Most of them. I mean, we got some transfers in there right now, but the talent, the elite receiver right now, we don't have. We don't have the. I don't feel confident in anybody on that offensive line winning a fist fight. Like, I don't have the guys that I want to go just beat people up.
Mark is in Baton Rouge. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hey, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, great show, and it is therapeutic for me as well. A couple of statements here. I listened to the pregame show, I listened to Hunt's show, and now I'm listening to you guys, and all of you do a great job. The common refrain is Brian Kelly is a really good coach. $100 million gets you better than good. That's the problem. The head coach is good, and he's no better than good, and he has been no better than good. Now, the other thing I would like to make a point is our offensive play calling. There was no less than 10, 12 times we had first and 10, then we had second and 6, maybe second and 7. We go left first time, we go right the second time. How can we forfeit 2 offensive plays and expect to have a successful offense and an offensive line? It boils down to coaching. The kids are beginning to, they know football. They know the coaches aren't getting the job done, so they're regressing. They don't see the value in what the coaches are teaching. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate the time.
I'm going to take the Kelly part second. You go ahead and take the play calling and the players part first.
The thing to me is that we're in year one. He had his audition in the bowl game last year. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is for Florida, but when I go back and look at Alabama and I look at A&M and I look at Arkansas and I look at, from the midpoint season on, coordinators have figured out Joe Sloan. They understand the way he thinks because, look, we had more sacks tonight than we had given up all year long, and pass protection wasn't great. They're getting beat up the middle, but I don't see anybody getting open. And from my opinion it's like they've understood what he wanted to do. They've made adjustments. They've seen the film, and we haven't figured out how to get out of that.
Here's the thing on Kelly, and you say, well, $100 million should get you great, not good. I agree. And he's just been okay this year. He's been good before this year. This year, their record is essentially 4-4. The thing is, you can't really go out and hire a great coach. They're not readily available. Like LSU can't go out and hire Kirby Smart right now. Nobody can. Yeah. He's entrenched at Georgia. They couldn't go out and hire Nick Saban from Alabama. You can't go out and hire one of the top 5 or 6 coaches in the country. They just don't move. Okay? So what you got to do is you got to go get somebody that you think is really good, that's on the cusp of being great and has been held back for some reason. So Kelly's records at Notre Dame, the last 7 years he was there, 10-3. Then they bottomed out in 2016 at 4-8 for some reason. And then 10-3, 12-1, 11-2, 10-2, 11-1. And if you watch Notre Dame in most of those bowl games, whenever they play the big bowl games, whenever they got into like the BCS,
they didn't have the talent.
Right, they just didn't have the talent to be able to play with the Alabamas of the world. Okay, and the thought was that if you took a guy that had been that good with less resources than what he would have at LSU, that he would be great here. So far, he's been pretty much a carbon copy of what he was at Notre Dame. He wins most of the games he's supposed to win. He didn't win today, but he's won most of the games that he's supposed to win and very few of the games that he's not. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's his record, okay? That's not my opinion. They are 2-7 in their last 9 games against ranked teams. Those are the better teams on your schedule. We don't pay a ton of attention to the rankings, but by and large, those are the better teams on your schedule. 2022, they beat a top 10 Ole Miss team. The next week they come back and they beat Alabama on the last play of the game, and everybody thinks he hung the moon, and that was great. And you thought, man, this is going to be really something because this guy did this in his first year. He's right where he was at Notre Dame in 1 year here. He's going to take good, and he's going to take it to great. So I don't blame him for making the hire. Wasn't wild about the contract then. I'm less wild about it now, but I understand why they did it. But if you're saying, well, if you're going to take that much money, go out and get great, who would you hire?
Well, so
who's available to you?
You did a good breakdown, of the coaching hires the year he was hired.
Yeah.
How many of them are offered $100 million or comparable contracts? And that explains to you where you're at. Like, I don't know
Napier's contract doesn't touch that.
I'm talking about Venables.
Venables, Napier, Lincoln Riley, and him. That was the 4.
Those are the ones I'm talking about.
Napier's contract doesn't touch Kelly's. Venables with the extension is at least now in the neighborhood. Nobody's exactly sure what Lincoln Riley got at USC because it's a private school and all the records aren't public. But the word around the campfire was it's pretty damn close to what Kelly got.
Yeah.
And there's some perks out there, house and some other things that really tarted
he's
up
500 right now.
Yeah, they won today to get to 500.
Yeah.
Beat you early in the year, though. Jules is in Abbeville. Jules, welcome into the show.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How you doing?
Charles, at least the basketball team got an unexpected road win.
Yeah, they looked good Thursday night, huh?
Yeah, and
dominated the glass.
Hope to see more of that, although I don't know how good K-State is. But I'll take the win.
Yep.
LSU's got the same problem as the Boston Red Sox. They can't score with RISP. Every time they get in the red zone, they fall apart. I don't know what it is, why they can move the ball up and down the field. And I know the field shrinks, but it's bad. And as far as Brian Kelly goes, like you said, we don't know what next year is going to bring. But I don't have confidence in him any more than I have confidence in Cora, turning his team and turning the football team around. And I guess still out on McMahon. Curious to see what he does this year, although I know they've been picked at the bottom. But the football team, it's gotten to where I can't watch it. I turn it on to see the score, but that's unacceptable for my standards.
Well, if you'd have watched it, you wouldn't have felt any better. I'll let you deal with the Red Sox problems. Rich, you got any more to add on the red zone stuff?
No, I've been saying it since the Arkansas week. When nobody respects your run game, it gets easier to defend in the red zone. Everybody's going to drop. They're going to drop coverages, play zone, fill up the space. You don't have safeties flying down. You don't have linebackers crashing. It gets really tough in the red zone when nobody can respect your run game, and that's where we're at.
That's very good. That's really concise. That's as good as explanation as it can be given. Easy's in Richmond. Easy, welcome into the show.
Guys, how y'all doing? Want to say that I appreciate your therapy session tonight because many of us LSU fans need it. In my eyes, the season's over. And as LSU fans, we overestimated this team. We still forget that although this is year 3 for Kelly, we have a bunch of first-year coordinators, first-year play caller. And remember, this is a team he took over with 38 scholarship players and also the transition to the NIL era. We see the same consistent problems, and these problems were masked earlier in the season because LSU was getting the ball on the ground on defense. Even if they weren't getting it, the ball was on the ground. Teams have figured out how to neutralize Whit Weeks, and then when we get to Nussmeier, it's a combination of things now. I really think he's in his head. Now, I think he's holding the ball a little too long because now he's afraid to turn the ball over. And we all knew that this was his main issue. He did not protect the football. As far as the running game, when we came out of camp, everybody raved about Caleb Jackson. And he hit the field, and he's really stunk it up. And other than Caden Durham's emergence, when you look at the LSU backs, they all have the same running style. They have no shake. They have no wiggle. They can't break tackles. Poor vision. And it's just continued. It hadn't gotten better. And Brian Kelly, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The people of Louisiana never accepted Brian Kelly, and I kind of know why, and I might have mentioned this before somewhere else. He's been working in academic institutions his entire career, and he talks like an academic. He speaks like an academic. He's very forthcoming with information. He doesn't try to hide things, and I still believe in him, and I believe in the way he's doing things. But I think he waited a little too long to start getting involved in these meetings with these coaches, especially the first-time play caller, because Joe Sloan was a great quarterback coach, but this is his first time calling plays in the SEC, and that's a heck of a transition to make to start calling plays in the SEC. And we've seen it. They figured him out. They figured out the protections. They figured out what LSU does well and who they need to take away. And they've been taking the A&M and Alabama, and now tonight they're taking away Kyron Lacey. They're taking him out of the game, taking him away. I mean, look how many times they're targeting him. All right?
Easy, thank you for the call. I'm going to let you take the play calling and some of that stuff, and I want to take some of the roster stuff after that.
I completely agree with his first point about Nussmeier's scared to death to throw an interception after the last 2 games. That's why you get 7 sacks tonight. He's holding on to the ball. He doesn't want to make a bad decision. He's nervous to make a turnover, so he's holding on to the ball longer. And also, it didn't help with our center of our offensive line. At one point, we had 3 redshirt freshmen in there getting blown up. The play calling to me is, I agree with you. I mean, everything he just said was right. They figured out what we did well. We ran a lot of crossing, long drag routes, long corner play. Now everybody's playing match. They're covering you man for a quarter of the field. Everybody's matching you up. There's somebody looking for the next crosser. They figured out what we did well, and we just haven't coached out of it. I mean, and that's the most frustrating part of me is, I think we have some good coaches, but when everybody's adjusted to what we were doing well, we have not readjusted. We've stayed in there where nobody's getting open, everybody's figured it out, and now at one point we were a better running team tonight than we were a passing team. I mean, that says everything.
The drive you're talking about, and I got this in my notes too. This was the first drive of the second half where they really ran the football well. That was the one where the OPI took the touchdown off the board. They ran the ball. I'm not going to take my time to do the math here, but most of that drive was on the ground.
I think it was like 12. It was almost 50-50, but I mean, it was the most heavy run.
More of the yards were on the ground. All right, let me take the administrative part. I agree with you on Kelly should be more deeply involved in a lot of this stuff. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit on the coordinators. Yes, you do have 2 first-year coordinators at this school. Baker's been a coordinator in this conference before,
paying him over $2 million a year.
Yeah, okay, so that's the first part I disagree with. And then the second part is that you had to go hire another coordinator because you whiffed on the first hire. That's on you. Now, Denbrock, wanted to go back closer to home. I bought that. He got coached a Heisman Trophy winner. He had a pretty good launch point to get another job if he wanted it. Could have stayed here for comparable money. So, okay, that just happened. If Denbrock would have been from Bogalusa, I don't know why I keep saying Bogalusa, but he might have stayed here, but he wanted to go back to the Midwest. So, okay, maybe you should have been a little bit more hands-on with Joe Sloan. Maybe you should have hired somebody else. We can debate that. The part I really disagree with is the roster build. That number that you gave out is a very common number that is given out all the time, and it's wrong. He inherited 38 or 39 players. The number's closer to 50. The number 38 or 39, I think it was 39, was what was available for the bowl game. There were about a dozen kids that were either injured or were protecting red shirts. Garrett Nussmeier was one of them, okay? So, there were 39 players there. No, they were closer to 50. But even if the 39 were true, we are at the end of year 3. You've had 3 recruiting classes, and you've had 3 transfer portal classes, okay? I will give you a little bit of slack, but not much. I mean, by year 3, this needs to be pretty much your ship to sail.
All the juniors on the team should be the ones you recruited.
Yeah, I mean, so if the young offensive linemen haven't developed, that's on you. If the receivers haven't developed or the defensive backs haven't developed, that's on you. If you've whiffed in the transfer portal, and listen, he had a grand slam with Daniels, okay? He went and got the Heisman Trophy winner, the number 2 pick in the draft out of the transfer portal. Bravo, okay? But he's missed with more than he's hit with. Yeah. And to his credit, he's trying to get out of the transfer portal business as much as he can. Nobody gets out of it completely unless you're Dabo, but he's trying to get to where he's just not putting as many, eggs in that basket as he can because it is so volatile. I mean, if you got a guy in the transfer portal, sometimes it's because the guy's a great player somewhere else and he just wants to move. But most of the time, it's because something happened at the other place.
There's a player scared of losing his starting position next year. He started this year, and I'll tell you right now, Gilbert, to me, that's a guy that knew that he wasn't going to maintain a starting role at A&M.
Yeah.
And we got him over here, and look, I'm not trying to bash the kid or anything, but he is not up to snuff to play safety.
You get in the transfer portal, a lot of times you get players that were really good at smaller schools, and sometimes they get here and they're really good players, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes you get reserves at other schools that were just behind somebody. I mean, my goodness, Joe Burrow was a pretty good quarterback, wasn't he? But he was behind a pretty good quarterback at Ohio State. So he got here, he got a chance. Daniels was a pretty good quarterback at Arizona State, nothing like what he was here, but he had limited resources around him. And so you put him in a good spot. But a lot of the kids in the transfer portal are there. Why? Because they weren't good enough to play somewhere else. So you got to be choosy, and it's hard because the competition's hard. Everybody wants the quick fix. Nobody wants to go take the freshman and redshirt him and then go through the limited playing time the redshirt freshman year, and then the sophomore year he's a starter and he plays pretty good, and in the fourth year he's really good. Nobody wants to do all that, man. They want it now. Let him develop on somebody else's nickel, and then let him play for me. It's wonderful if it works, but ask Florida State. It's a tough way to build a program. So the roster building, a lot of this is on him. I mean, you can blame Ed a little bit if you want to, but man, Ed's been gone for 3 years. It's time to get off that.
Your junior list is your guys.
Yeah.
You got enough. You've been here for 3 years.
He's got a very good recruiting class coming in next month, minus one guy today. Okay. But I'm sorry. Way more of this roster, the shape this roster is in, how this roster has been developed is on Brian Kelly than it is on anybody else, any assistant coach or any coach that came prior to him.
No.
It's your ship to fly. So that's where we at. Take a break, come back with more Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA 21-126-81, offices in Baton Rouge. WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge. Eagle 98.1.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eagle 98.1. Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Stat Check. Presented by Luba Workers Comp. Luba Workers Comp. Delivering genuine dependability.
Sometimes when you look at this stuff, you say, wow.
Make it make sense.
Yeah. First downs, 25-13. LSU. Just saying. Total yards, 392-339. LSU. Passing yards, 262-226. LSU. Rushing yards, 130-113. LSU. Time of possession, 41-43 to 18-17. LSU. Third down conversions, 13-3. LSU. Fourth down conversions, 2-0. LSU. You get the picture?
You can stop.
Yeah, well, it's just a sponsored segment. 13-24 on third down, as a matter of fact, led to a lot of this. Just not in the red zone. So what can you?
You get to 24 third downs, that kind of spells another issue. I mean, you're not busting plays. You're not making.
Well, that's a
big
good
plays.
point. Usually this number is, I would say, without looking, I would say LSU's average number of third downs, because we do this every week, somewhere around 14.
12 to 14. is what I
Yeah,
was
something
thinking.
like that.
You get to 24 third downs, that screams an issue at that point.
We got to go back through the play-by-play. How many 2nd and 9s? How many 3rd and 8s?
There was a lot.
And they managed to convert them a lot of them, which is a miracle.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, there was a lot of big plays we made on a 3rd and long.
I mean, average yards to go on those third downs. I don't have that in front of me
At
either.
one point, it was around 7 yards.
Yeah, I mean, that's an outlandish number to complete this many conversions against. Penalties, even won this, 3 for 25 for LSU, 7 for 55 for Florida. I mean, they won every statistical.
You go show that box score to somebody. And
They tell you the score was reversed, at least
100%.
27-16.
Give them $100 to put down. They're going to pick LSU.
Maybe Jimmy hadn't seen it. Nussmeier, 27-47, 260 yards, a touchdown, and no picks. DJ Lagway, 13-26, 226 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. Caden Durham, 20 carries, 91 yards. Josh Williams, 13 carries for 69 yards. They did keep at the running game for a while. But when you take the
50
sacks.
yards a sack.
Yeah, I think it was
48.
57, I think. I got to look again at the official box, but I think it was 57.
You got
three yards a carry.
You got a 5-yard carry from Emory Jones.
That was the fumble. Yeah. Actually, you know what they gave him credit for? 17 yards.
Oh, from where he picked it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
17 yards, which second longest carry of the night.
Look, I'll tell you, all it does, it reinforces a little bit of respect for offensive linemen or for the running backs. They're always like, how do you fumble the ball? He took a hit, and that ball came flying
Came right out, yeah. Jaden Ball, 6 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown for Florida. Jacoby Jackson, 6 for 37 and a touchdown. Aaron Anderson led LSU in receiving tonight, 7 catches, 72 yards and a touchdown. Mason Taylor, 6 catches for 59 yards. Elijah Badger, 6 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown. He made some big catches tonight for Florida. Shimry Dyke, 2 for 47 for Florida. Defensively, boy, it's amazing. They don't have – LSU made 32 tackles tonight. That's a really, really low number.
They had the ball for 18 minutes.
The 32 tackles, okay? I mean –
defense was on the field for 18 minutes.
How many plays are 26? They only ran 43 plays. Florida ran 43 plays.
They had the ball.
I knew the time of possession. 43 plays.
It gets crazier. We lost in the fourth quarter. They had the ball for 3 minutes, scored 14 points.
Yeah. They ran 43 plays. My goodness. Shamar James, 11 tackles for Florida. Hell, that was a third of what LSU had. Tyreek Sapp with 8 total tackles. Jake Pliam also with 8. Punting, Florida 4 punts for a 37.8-yard average, but all 4 of them were inside the 20. Eichendorf, 2 punts for a 46-yard average. None of them were inside the 20. One of them was a touchback. Ramos made 3 out of 4 field goals, including a career long of 50. Trey Smack. My wife and I had this discussion. If your last name is Smack, this is Trey Smack. That's a name you remember, right?
Yeah.
If your last name was Smack, what would you name your son? You can't name him Jack. It's like,
I can't think of anything to say on the air.
Yeah, right. Anything that you name your kid is going to be remembered. Well, anyway, Trey Smack is a really good kicker.
Yeah.
Made both of his kicks, including one from 55-yard. Yeah, you can't. Trey Smack. That's a pretty good name. Getting late. All right, we'll take a break. We'll let you know what's going on in college football, including a real good game between the bushes over in Georgia. We'll do that when we come back here. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
.1. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
We go to games in progress. Knew this was going to be a tricky spot we'll start with the top team in the country. We knew this was going to be a tricky spot for Oregon. This is their 8th game in a row. Wisconsin was coming off of a bye. Oregon's kind of got a game to play with where the Big Ten is concerned. It's 13-13, 2.5 minutes to go. Now, Oregon's got the ball down on the Wisconsin 6-yard line, 4th down. So, assuming they kick the field goal here, Wisconsin will have plenty enough time to get down and score. So, number 1 team in the country in a fight in Madison. In Athens, number 12 Georgia leads number 7 Tennessee 24-17. Carson Beck has thrown 2 touchdown passes in this game for Georgia. They are playing without Trevor Etienne. They have run the ball for only 87 yards tonight, and they hold a 7-point lead as they head into the late part of the third quarter. Number 15, Texas A&M, fourth quarter score. They are leading New Mexico State 31-3. North Carolina leads Wake Forest 24-17. Into 3, Iowa State leads Cincinnati 20-10. Middle of the third quarter, Memphis leads UAB 25-11. Washington State leads New Mexico 21-7. They are ranked 18th in the country. Washington State, man without a country, but they are 8-1 on the season. Early in the first quarter, at number 6 BYU, Kansas has taken a 6-0 lead. Extra point to come there on a Devin Neal 8-yard run. One game later tonight, San Diego State and UNLV, they're kicking off here in about 5 minutes. Earlier finals today, well, this one just went final. Arizona State beat number 16 Kansas State 24-14 in the Little Apple. Nice job by Rob Dellingham over there. They are 8-2 in his first year, youngest coach in D1. Number 2, Ohio State, they get in the look-ahead spot to Indiana, something you never thought you'd hear. At Wrigley Field today, they beat Northwestern 31-7. No, I'm not drunk. They actually played that game at Wrigley Field. Will Howard threw a couple of touchdown passes for Ohio State. Number 3, Texas was in a fight at Arkansas. They end up winning this game 20-10. Couple of touchdown passes for Quinn Ewers. Arkansas had the ball, down 1 score in Texas territory, turned it over, and that was the end of it. Number 4, Penn State moves to 9-1. They beat Purdue 49-10. Drew Allar, 3 touchdown passes for the Nittany Lions. Number 8, Notre Dame, on the eve of their big game against Army, something else you don't hear very often. They beat Virginia 35-14, 3 touchdown passes for Riley Leonard. Number 10, Alabama, no problem with Mercer, 52-7. Number 13, Boise State beat San Jose State 42-21. Broncos go to 9-1 overall. Number 14, SMU, not an easy time with Boston College today, but they win it 38-28. Ponies still in place, still online to be in the ACC championship game. They've got 2 very winnable games remaining on their schedule. They're 6-0 in ACC play. Another big day for Kevin Jennings. 3 more touchdown passes through and 298 yards.
It's crazy SMU gets relevant again when you can pay players.
Ironic, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. I tell you what, when they changed quarterbacks, they struggled through the first 3 games of the season. When they went to Jennings, that offense took off, and they have not looked back since. They get in the ACC championship game against Miami. That game might be 65-62 by the end of it. Number 17, Colorado moves to 6-1 and 8 in the Big 12 and 8-2 overall. They beat Utah 49-24. Shadur Sanders threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, who's Heisman odds, he was the favorite going into today. He's an even bigger favorite now. Hunter, 5 catches for 55 yards, and on defense, 3 more tackles and a pass defense and 2 interceptions. Just a magnificent day for him.
I don't have a vote.
He's got mine if I had one.
You got to give it to him. He's the best player in college football.
I've not seen in my career broadcasting anybody do what he's done.
They had a stat today that it was like 3 interceptions and over 40 receptions. And there's only been 3 people to do it, and he's done it twice.
And wasn't the other guy from the 50s or something? I mean, back when they were, two-way players were common. Yeah. What he's done, I mean, when you think about Charles Woodson winning the Heisman as a defensive player and sometimes offensive player
and
a punt returner, this guy plays 130 snaps a game.
Unreal.
Every week. No, he gets it for me. Stanford upsets number 19 Louisville 38-35. Clemson, long touchdown run by Cade Klubnik with under a minute to go. They beat Pittsburgh 24-20. Last pass to the end zone for Pittsburgh, intercepted just shy of the goal line. Terrific game at Columbia, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Number 21 South Carolina beat number 23 Missouri 34-30. There were 31 points scored between the 2 teams in the 4th quarter. South Carolina scored the winning touchdown with under 20 seconds to go. Both teams now 7-3 on the season. South Carolina's done with their conference schedule. They finished 5-3 in SEC play. Number 25 Tulane, no problem with Navy. They win 35-0. Damian Mensah threw a couple of touchdown passes for the Wave. Liberty beat UMass 35-34 in overtime. It was La Tech over Western Kentucky 12-7. Auburn picks up the win over UL Monroe 48-14. It was Marshall over Coastal Carolina 31-19. Remember when Kentucky beat Ole Miss?
Yeah.
They hadn't won since. That was back in September. They did win today over a 1-9, now 1-10 Murray State team, 48-6, the final there. Jacksonville State beat Florida International 34-31. It was Temple over Florida Atlantic in overtime, 18-15. Illinois goes to 7-3. They beat Michigan State 38-16. Syracuse over Cal 33-25, ACC game. Sam Houston beat Kennesaw State 23-17 in overtime. Utah State beat Hawaii 55-10. Air Force shut out Oregon State 28-0. South Florida beat Charlotte 59-24. USC even their record at 5-5 with a 28-20 win over Nebraska. You know who's calling plays for the Huskers today?
Who's that?
Dana Holgerson, former West Virginia and Houston coach, signed on there as a consultant about a month ago, and they gave him the play calling duties for the remainder of the season. But on the other side, Miller Moss, starting quarterback for USC all season, was benched in this game. Jaden Maivia, the UNLV transfer, started at quarterback for USC through 3 touchdown passes for the Trojans in the win. Baylor gets bowl eligible. Dave Aranda's team wins for the 4th consecutive week. They beat West Virginia 49-35. Troy beat Georgia Southern 28-20. It was James Madison over Old Dominion 35-32. Arkansas State over Georgia State 27-20. Rutgers got bowl eligible. They beat Maryland 31-17. South Alabama pulls the upset in the Sun Belt. They beat UL Lafayette 24-22. Cajuns lose their first game in Sun Belt play and only their 2nd this season. And Texas State beat Southern Miss 58-3. And let's see, we got one more score here. We're looking for one more. Where's my last score? There it is. Southern beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 31-9. Jags now 6-1 in SWAC play and 7-4 overall, and that is your college football scoreboard. Game balls are next. Dixon's digging around here today. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Game Balls. Presented by WCK Foundation Repair. WCK Foundation Repair. Support your home team. WCK Foundation Repair.
Get creative, why don't you?
I'm splitting it up on offense. Can't make up my mind. Going Durham, Anderson.
Yeah. Durham, 20 carries, 91 yards. Anderson, 7 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. Anderson's is one for me. I'm going to just throw this out there. Not that I saw him make play after play all over the field, but Devon Keys was forced into the start tonight and ended up leading LSU in tackles with 5 because LSU had 32 tackles tonight total because Florida ran 43 plays total. and won the game by 11. So I'll
You did this in
give
stat
the.
check. We don't need to do it again.
I'll give the freshman from Aledo, Texas. I'll give him a shout out. Devon Keys gets my game ball. Tennessee with the ball in Georgia territory early in the fourth quarter, trailing by 7, 24-17. We're back to wrap it up after this. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Brandon Hawley here. Wood windows with a lifetime guarantee. ReliefWindows.com.
Eagle 98.1 WDGL and HD1 Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
.1
Okay. I don't know what else to say. That's about it. I mean, I think we've covered it. Ordinarily, I kind of wrap the show up with what's coming up, and well, you got this, and got to hold it together and all that. I'm gonna shoot you straight. I don't know if they're gonna show up for the last 2 games.
No.
I really don't. The amount of buy-in, focus, disorganization, and just flat out bad play and bad preparation has been so bad the last 2 weeks that it's shaken my confidence that this team is going to show up at all in Tiger Stadium next week. And let me tell you something about Vanderbilt, okay? They had the week off, and they ran into a really good South Carolina team last week that's playing well. Vandy may be, if they're nothing else, they are hungry.
Yeah.
And they play hard. They may not be the most talented team in the country or in the conference. And like I said, they may be running out of gas a little bit against South Carolina last week because they beat Alabama. They gave Texas all they wanted. They played. They gave Missouri all they wanted on the road. And maybe at this point, the length of the season may have taken its toll on the Vanderbilt roster, and they may not be what they were in September or October. But they play hard, and they respect that quarterback. Diego Pavia plays his butt off, okay? He's one of those guys that you wouldn't be surprised if he, just laid his body out there and said, trample on it if you want, but you're going to drag me off this field. I don't know what any of that means, but I know if you show up next week with this kind of effort and this kind of focus, you can very easily get your tail whipped next week in Tiger Stadium. So do with that what you will.
It's the first time that I can imagine in the SEC that I'm worried about LSU being able to match Vanderbilt's intensity.
I was in Tiger Stadium in 1991. Curly Holman was the coach of the team. Jared DiNardo was coaching Vanderbilt, and Vandy had the lead, I want to say, into the third quarter. I remember because I was a student, and I had pre-gamed a little bit, and I was not happy at all. Okay, so that was the last time. It was 33 years ago. Anyway, regular schedule this week. We'll have the podcast on Monday, drop on Monday night. We'll show you some film and what exactly went wrong. Brian Kelly press conference reporter live at lunch on Monday at 11:40. And the coach's show on Thursday night from TJ Ribbs at 7 o'clock. Final score, once again, Florida 27 and LSU 16. From all of us here at the flagship, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good evening. It's been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Your trucks. You've been listening to an Eagle 98.1 special presentation brought to you by Low Bears Baton Rouge.